Hello and welcome to the training video on overview of grant components. Please ensure you have watched the previous video on preparing a funding opportunity for grant tracking and on awarding your grants into grant tracking. At this point, the applications have been awarded into grant tracking and are sitting in awarded status, blocking the grantee's access. The grants tracking module is where all of the post-award management takes place. This is where you'll maintain the budget. You can request periodic status reports, process claims, amend the contract, conduct site visits, and any other monitoring until the grant is closed out. Okay, let's go to grant tracking. So from your menu, click on grant tracking. Choose your option to search for your grant or grants. For this video purpose, we're searching by grant number. So enter the grant number, click search. When your grant comes up, click on the title, and this will take you to the grant. Grant is subdivided into optional components. So subcomponents are the system documents and forms that help you actually do the process to manage the grant. That would be like claims, status reports, site visits, contract amendments. Other system custom forms that can be added to the grant are correspondence, appropriation, encumbrances. Keeping in mind these are optional based on your needs to manage the grant. Other forms listed will be your program area specific forms or global forms that the internal user has created or copied from the application. That would be like budget forms and just general forms. Okay, if we go through these components, the first one is the grant general information, which we went over in the previous video. The grant general information is the system form that actually captures the grant title. That can be changed, the grantee organization, the contact, internal and external, the contract number, and your project dates and award year. If we back out of there, next we have the claim. A claim is a grant subcomponent that is used by the grantee to request grant money from the client. WebGrants supports two types of claims, payments and reimbursements. The payment can also be used to send advance payments to the grantee. This can be a one-time advance or an ongoing advance. Reimbursements are payment requests submitted by the grantee after the grantee has incurred expenses on the grant. The reimbursement is based on the budget. The system will automatically copy the budget form into the reimbursement form. The grantee will then enter their expenses this period into the reimbursement. The system will enforce certain business rules, such as the grantee cannot request more money than the grant total, or the grantee cannot request more money than that in a single budget line item, or the grantee can request more money than in a single budget line item, but only over a certain percentage, like 10%. The grantee can also report unmatched amounts if required. The claim has all the standard document functionality, including negotiation, withdrawal, notes, feedback, mapping, and version. So if we get out of the claim and back up, we can look at what the next one is that is in conjunction with the claims, and that is appropriation. This is optional. Again, this component is used in conjunction with the awards module and the claims subcomponent. Appropriations is a system component of the grant that is used to associate a single fund source or many fund sources from the awards module to pay for the grant. Let's take a look at encumbrances. An encumbrance is an optional component also. An encumbrance is used to generate an alert to the grantee and also stop payments to a grantee. The encumbrance marks a particular milestone, deliverable, or task that a grantee must complete by a particular date or face some consequences. One consequence can be that the system will automatically prevent staff from paying any reimbursement requests from the grantee until the encumbrance is lifted. The next component is the contract amendment. So if we go back to the grant details, and click on Contract Amendment. Again, it is also a grant subcomponent that is used to initiate and approve a contract amendment process. An amendment can be started by either internal staff or by the grantee. Amendments can have a type, meaning that multiple different types of amendments can be used in the system. Each amendment type can have different forms. Clients can define a multi-level approval process of up to 5 approval levels, and when an amendment is submitted, staff can reroute that document through the approval levels and approve the amendment for changes. Now let's look at status report. So if we click on the grant details and go back, let's look at the status report. This is a grant subcomponent also that is used by the grantee to report upon recent grant activity. A status report is a document object that consists of forms. Status reports are typically submitted according to a schedule. Internal staff can set a status report schedule, which will send automated notifications to the grantee when your status report is due. Status reports typically consist of user-defined forms as well. However, it is possible to copy any grant form from the grant to the status report. Next is site visits. Site visits is also a grant subcomponent that is used to visit a grantee's project and report on the activity. The site visit component allows internal users to assign types of site visits or audits to individuals that are either staff members or grantees. Depending on the type assigned, you can create individual forms that support your business process. The completion of the site visit is actually similar to the review assignment. The individual assigned will log into the system and from their actual main menu will select site visits. If the individual has not been selected to complete a site visit assignment, then this option will not show on their menu. Let's now click on correspondence. The correspondence is a system grant component also. It is a custom form that is divided into 2 different sections. The first top section is non-system correspondence log. This is a repository of notes that internal staff can make on a grant to record important communication that's occurred outside of the system. This communication could be logging a phone call, or an email, a fax, letter, or some other form of communication. Staff can record who the message was from or to, the subject, and the message. Any number of these items can be added to a grant. Now, the inter-system grantee correspondence is a messaging tool that allows the client to send messages to the grantee and the grantee to send messages to the client along with an attachment. These messages will result in an alert. A full history of all messages is retained in the system. This is creating, again, another place in the system to log correspondence instead of having it in someone's inbox and outside the system. Let's go back and actually look in the grant details again. There are other various forms that you can also create. You can have attachment forms that will allow staff members or grantees upload electronic documents at any time, perhaps to execute a contract or even updated contact information or other various documents that are required or optional. One more item we need to go over in the components listing is down at the bottom. Because we are building a complete online file with all documentation activity for the entire lifecycle in this grant, you also will have the funding opportunities that they submitted the application under, and the application itself never leaves the system, nor the attachments from the application. You will have application versions, application notes, the application reviews with scores and comments possibly. This allows you to access these items right in the grant and always have the complete life cycle in one place. Now let's go to the middle of the screen. You will also have other options on each grant as well. For example, you can create grant alerts. That's manage alerts. You can also copy a grant. You can make notes or map that grant. You have the ability to make a copy of the grant, and that's a complete exact replica If you map your grant location, the system uses Google Maps, and the location is based upon a field setup in the form creator. You or the grantee will enter the location into this field on the grant form. If you want to make internal notes by clicking on notes, the grantee does not see them. And one last option you have is you can actually export the grant data into a report. There's also associated form setup for subcomponent forms for claims, status reports, amendments, and site visits. This allows you to select for a subcomponent specific forms just for the grant you are in. So every funding opportunity will have all the forms included for the entire grant cycle. But this can allow you to select from all those forms just the specific forms that you want to use for this particular grant. Now that you're familiar with the terminology and function of the grant components, please watch our subsequent videos on managing your grant and underway status. Thank you.